How does a DSLR work? DSLR is it for me? Is it easy to use?
Well, if you had all those queries stopping you from buying a DSLR and unleashing your creativity, we are here to help you. I am Rohan from Nikon India technical team. We at Nikon have always believed in nurturing the photography talent and providing our customers a great photography experience. We have an array of options like Nikon school workshops, photo walks, outdoor workshops. And now taking it a step forward, we bring to you Nikon School DSLR tutorials. Through the course of these tutorials, we will be talking about the basics of photography, which will help aspiring photographers strengthen their photography skills. The first session talks about DSLR advantages and why should one own a DSLR. At the same time, we share with you some important facts as well as try and answer some common myths about photography. I would like to introduce to you Abhishek, my colleague from the Nikon India technical team. Abhishek, we get a lot of questions from our customers asking about why should one buy a DSLR camera. You know, they think it's complex and difficult to use, and why should actually one invest in a DSLR?
Ron, I tell you, most of the people who want to upgrade from a compact camera to a DSLR have this question that DSLR is a very complex machine. But if you actually use a DSLR or if you actually get a demonstration of a DSLR, you will find that it's the most simplest machine to understand in terms of photography. Now, we have prepared a small animation piece which will help you and customers to understand that how actually DSLR functions. Great. Once you understand that, even it is very helpful for people who own a DSLR right now. That will give a very clear picture to these DSLR owners as well as the people who want to upgrade to a new DSLR, that how it works so that they can get the best output from your DSLR. Now, here we have an animation piece that shows a subject under the influence of light. Now, normally we say if you want to record any picture, you require light for that particular picture. If you don't have light, you cannot grab a picture. Here we have used sun as a natural source of light hitting the subject. Now, from the subject, light travels through the lens, hits a mirror inside the camera. Now, if you see closely, there is a mirror inside this camera. Can you see that?
Yes.
Now, light hits this mirror, get reflected onto the prism which is right on the top of the DSLR, and then further travels to the viewfinder.
That's how we view the image.
Exactly, that's how you view the image. Now, in order to shoot an image, what you do is you first look through the viewfinder, set the exposure mode, could be any auto mode like macro, portrait, sports, or some of the auto exposure modes like manual, then your aperture priority, shutter priority, programmed auto, these kind of modes. You set the right exposure, then you press the shutter release button here. When you press this button, the mirror goes up and the light directly travels to the image sensor, and that's how image gets recorded on your memory card.
So that was about the working of a DSLR camera. Abhishek, come let's discuss a few advantages of DSLRs.
Of course, Rohan, the most important advantage of a DSLR is that you can change lenses. Now, what happens when you change a lens? So, you can change the lens to get various different kind of perspectives. Like if you want to shoot a portrait, you get a very good low lighting lens like a 50mm 1.8, which is a fixed focal length. Fixed focal length means you have a fixed focal length in terms of zoom.
So, you cannot zoom in or zoom out. Since
it's a low lighting performance lens, it's a fixed focal length. Now, here I have a new Nikon D5300 camera mounted with 18 140mm lens. Now, this lens is a zoom lens which starts from 18mm wide angle and goes up to 140mm.
Wow.
Right? So, you can actually change the perspective even without changing the lenses by just zooming into the subject, depending on the situation. Like if you are shooting a wildlife, most of the wildlife photographers prefer to have high focal length of 500mm, 600mm, because that's the situation and condition they want to shoot in.
So you can change the look and feel of the shot.
Exactly. Now we have an example here. If you could look at the image here, the first image shows a zoomed in view of a landscape.
Yes.
Okay. Now the same landscape, if we just zoom out to wide angle perspective, you get an altogether different perspective.
Yes, this is completely changed.
So one lens is offering you two different perspectives of the same subject. So that is the major advantage of having a DSLR.
So you can zoom in, zoom out, and by that you can change the perspective and look of the scene.
Exactly. And depending on the kind of subject you are shooting, you can opt for various other lenses we have in our lineup. And as you know, Nikon lenses are world famous for their quality.
What could be other advantages that we could share with our viewers?
See, DSLR, people normally go for a DSLR for high image quality. Now, when we talk about high image quality, that is possible because of the sensor size of the DSLR. Now, we have DSLR starting from 24 megapixel, 36 megapixel, D800 is a 36 megapixel camera. Now, that high resolution gives you the highest quality possible. Now, you will say, Rohan, even some of the smart devices today are having, high megapixel of 20 megapixel,
Correct,
24 megapixel. But that megapixel, that image quality is totally different from what quality is offered by your DSLR, because the DSLR sensor is very big as compared to the sensor deployed in these smart devices.
I'm sure our viewers will love this tip because they always have this apprehension about why not use a smart device, why go in for a DSLR when you get the same megapixels.
Let me tell you, a 8 megapixel DSLR will always give you a better quality image compared to any other smart device, even if the smart device is 16 megapixel or 20 megapixel, just because the sensor size of the DSLR is very big. Now, to explain that, I have an image here on the screen. You can see this image. This is a portrait shot taken at Ladakh at Khardungla Pass. Now, if you see closely, if you crop this image more than 50%, and you can see the cropped version of this image, you can still retain all those details and sharpness in the image. This is because of the image sensor deployed in a DSLR. This is not possible with any other smart device that is capable of taking an image.
Okay, so that is indeed a great advantage.
Exactly.
So you can blow this picture up also?
You can actually print this image. This is a high quality print image. You can print this image A4, A3 or even on canvas.
Wow, that is a great advantage to have in a DSLR. So those were advantages, some very important advantages of DSLRs. What could be another very critical advantage that could be of help to our users, DSLR users?
Ron, most of the people, they have a lot of complaint that when they shoot in low lighting situation, image appears very dark. And that happens with all the imaging devices, but not with DSLRs. So if you have a good DSLR with a CMOS sensor deployed in it, which is a very high quality sensor, now in these kind of situations, you can actually click an image where there is very minimum light.
That is possible.
Yes. Now here is an image. You can see this image. This image has been shot at Pangong Lake in Ladakh at around 11 PM at night. Now you can see stars on the sky and there is a pretty well lit up landscape in the background, Now you can even see the shadows of the flag. The light that what you see on your screen in the image is not an artificial light.
That was going to be my next question, because you said Ladakh and Pangong. I don't think there are street lights there.
There are no street lights there, there are no bulbs there.
And this is a well lit image.
Yeah, and flash cannot give this kind of output, right? So you have this light which is a moonlight.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So what we have done is we have just mounted a camera on a tripod and exposed the camera for a longer duration for say around 30 seconds. And we used a remote to click this image. You can see the quality of the image, you can see the landscape, you can see the mountains, the mountain range. And if you are there actually at night, you won't be able to see anything. It's pitch dark.
But in this image, we can clearly see and even, kind of make out the texture of the mountains and in the image what kind of a rocky landscape it would have been.
Exactly, and the only light available there was the moonlight. So this is the kind of quality offered by a DSLR. This cannot be matched by any other imaging device, be it smart device or your cell phones or mobile phones.
Abhishek, that was great information about the low light capability of our cameras. But somewhere while explaining the image, you mentioned that you used a remote to take the image. Can you shed some light for the benefit of our viewers on the accessories that our DSLRs come with?
Ron, see, we've spoken about the kind of lenses you can use in various kind of situations. We have wide variety of Nikon lenses, high quality Nikon lenses. If you are a wildlife photographer, as I said, you have big zoom lenses, 500 mm, 600 mm, and recently we introduced 800 mm in our lineup. Along with that, we have very good low lighting performance lens like 50 mm, which is very good for portraits and products. We have 35 mm, we have very wide angle lenses like 14-24, 16 mm fisheye. So depending on the kind of subject you are shooting, you can actually opt for various lenses. Now apart from lenses, as you mentioned, remotes. Remote is just one accessory that one can opt for while shooting in low lighting situation. Remotes are very helpful when you want to trigger your camera remotely, because at times when you are shooting in extremely low lighting situation, you have to pull down your shutter speed really slow. In those kind of situation, even touching the shutter release button might give you image blur.
So you mean to say camera can shake and
exactly.
cause the image?
So you can use remote in those situations. So that is the utility of having a remote. Then we have wireless mobile adapters, which can get fixed in the USB port of a DSLR, and then you can wirelessly transfer your images from the camera to any smart devices. That could be Android based or that could be iOS based device.
So that gives us the capability of sharing it with our loved ones on social networking sites.
Exactly. And if you are very fond of utilizing the full HD video capability of our DSLR, we also have a high quality sound recorder that is called ME1 microphone. So you can actually record high quality sound with that microphone. We have GPS devices, we have external flash guns, SB910, these are some of very great flash that can illuminate any low lighting situation. So endless accessories and endless possibilities and endless advantages of having a DSLR.
Great, Abhishek. So I'm sure all our viewers would agree after listening to all these advantages and will have no apprehensions going in for a DSLR camera. We thank you for watching this session and we hope you enjoyed it. In the further sessions, we are going to talk about basics of photography, where we talk about exposure, we talk about composition, and we talk about focus. Stay tuned for some more informative sessions. Until then, these are your Nikon buddies, Rohan and Abhishek, signing off. Thank you.